latest news has struck me funny. Said you have no friends if you haven't got money.
The Great Depression is not exactly what you think of when you hear the word entertainment, but entertainment was a large part of everyday situations for even the poorest of Americans in the 30s. Despite the economic downturn, music, movies, and radio hit an all-time high. People were using forms of entertainment as an escape from what was going on around them. Inventions in technology set new standards for the entertainment industries. During this time, the jukebox was invented, motion pictures started to have sound, and radio was experimenting with shortwave so that they could get a better sound frequency. The Great Depression was the cultural basis for an entertainment golden age. Music during the Great Depression both reflected the hard times and also provided a way out. People often said, you can't be sad and dancing at the same time. Multiple genres came out of the Great Depression, including swing and country. Country music was most often referred to as hillbilly because of its Appalachian roots. Music also reflected a country in despair. Songs of this type were often called protest songs. Titled accordingly, you had Dreadful Memories by Aunt Molly Jackson, Breadline Blues by Slim Smith, Dust Bowl Refugee by Guthrie, and Ballad of the Chicago Steel Massacre. The song Breadline Blues, very appropriately titled, notably states, "You have no friends if you haven't got money." But that is only one side of the story. Many people didn't want to face the reality of depression, so things for them had to be upbeat. And thus, there is swing. The Sultans of Swing put a tap, tap, tap back in your feet. It was fast-paced, cheerful, and you could dance to it. The perfect escapist kind of music. Notably, the best of the best were Benny Goodman, whom you think of when it comes to big band music. The popular song of his was Sing, Sing, Sing with a Swing, which is hinting upon what you should be doing to forget your troubles. Another big band man was Duke Ellington, who is most often recognized for his song, "It Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing." Chick Webb is less known to most of us, but is recognized for his song, "That's a Plenty." And in my opinion, one of the most famous singers to Ellington and Webb is Ella Fitzgerald, who got her foot in the door early as a teenager singing for the big names. At the same time, with radio being everyone's favorite free pastime, there was a renewed interest in classical music. Often you would hear arrangements by Copland, Virgil, Gershwin, and Stravinsky. Despite low funds, people still somehow managed to go to movies. Movies had just introduced sound, and by the end of the Depression, they would release the first Technicolor movie, The Wizard of Oz. Hollywood managed to produce big hits despite hard times, such as Gone with the Wind, Grapes of Wrath, and Dracula. Some were historical, like those of John Ford, such as Stagecoach, Young Mr. Lincoln, and Drums Along the Mohawk. Some were satirical and calling for change, like Frank Capra's Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, and others were happy, like every single thing Shirley Temple was involved in. You had Little Miss Princess, Little Miss Marker, Little Miss Broadway, and Heidi. Talk about overexposed. But it made people happy, and that's what most entertainment was about at that time. Radio was the most popular form of entertainment for one reason and one reason only. It was free. By 1933, it was estimated that 1/3 of all households had a radio. In America, there were about 600 broadcasting stations all giving news, music, and comedy, and it was a way for FDR to sit down and chit-chat with America in his fireside chats. There were two main companies for radio, NBC, National Broadcasting Company, and CBS, Columbia Broadcasting System, both owning about 80 stations each. Many people relied on radio every day. It came as no surprise when people actually believed a comedy broadcast called War of the Worlds, in which a story was given as news about how aliens were attacking Earth. Besides causing mass hysteria, it brought to light that things shouldn't be taken so literally. To help alleviate stress, often radio stations would play comedy shorts, such as Amos and Andy. Other shows included Sherlock Holmes and Little Orphan Annie. Operas and symphonies often performed on live radio as well.